Hey, what's up, guys? This is Pastor James, Pastor Miley. We are sharing with you guys today basically the chronological events of the Passion Week. So, yesterday we celebrated Palm Sunday, and oftentimes we wonder, so what happened on Monday? What did Jesus do leading up to Friday, Good Friday, where he died on the cross for our sins? But what took place, the events leading up to that. So that's why we're going to share with you today from old John MacArthur or Johnny Mac's book, One Perfect Life, that compiles all the gospel accounts of Jesus's life. And so basically that's what we're going to do. We're just going to share with you the verses concerning that. So today we'll look at the fig tree and the cleansing of the temple. So Miley here is going to read us the verses.
Now the next day in the morning, as he returned to the city from Bethany, he was hungry. And seeing from afar a fig tree having leaves by the road, he went to see if perhaps he would find something on it. When he came to it, he found nothing but leaves, for it was not the season for figs. In response, Jesus said to it, "Let no fruit grow, and let no one eat fruit from you ever again." And his disciples heard it. Immediately the fig tree withered away.
All right, so that's from Matthew, Mark, and Luke's account of this story, basically. And so the fig tree, what's fascinating about this is the fig tree that Jesus had encountered had leaves. It had all the signs that it was a fruitful tree. When he approached it, because he was hungry, because he was a real man, the fig tree had no figs on it at all. And says Mark's account says that it wasn't in season or something along those lines. It was an oddity, so to speak, for this tree. Apparently it was planted in good soil. It had everything available to it to produce a good fruit, but yet it had nothing. So it had all the signs of it, but when it came down to it, there was no substance to it. So it's as if the saying goes, it could talk the talk, but it couldn't walk the walk. So that's kind of what that represents, this fig tree. And so Jesus cursed it, and this fig tree is going to wither away. We'll see that they come back to this tree on Tuesday and to find that it indeed was cursed and withered away. So we're going to read the next part about Jesus cleansing the temple.
So they came to Jerusalem, and Jesus went into the temple of God and began to drive out all those who bought and sold in the temple, and overturned the tables of the money chargers and the seats of those who sold doves. And he would not allow anyone to carry wares through the temple. Then he taught, saying to them, "It is not written, 'My house shall be called a house of prayer for all nations,' but you have made it a den of thieves." Keep going.
Keep going.
And the scribes and chief priests heard it and sought how they might destroy him, for they feared him, because all the people were astonished at his teaching.
All right, and so essentially what happens here, this is the second cleansing of the temple. Jesus is on his way in. He's now back in Jerusalem, as we saw, coming from Bethany into Jerusalem. Stops off at the temple to set things back in order, because God is concerned about holiness. And the place of worship, the house of worship, had been turned into basically a place of extortion, in a sense. And so in the court of the Gentiles, which was a place that was designated specifically for Gentiles or non-Jewish people, the religious leaders had allowed the money changers and all that to have occupancy within there, thus pushing out some of the Gentiles. So if they wanted to show up and worship, they would find it difficult because a lot of their space had been taken over. And so Jesus, for the second time, walks in there and clears them all out. And he references from Isaiah and from Jeremiah saying that my house shall be called a house of prayer for all nations. And that's from the Gospel of Mark, who includes for all nations. And he goes on to say, but you have turned it into a den of thieves. And that's a reference from Jeremiah chapter 7. So Jesus is essentially on his way to the cross. He's setting things straight. And he's not pleased at all with individuals who were taking advantage of others who simply just wanted to worship God. So they were capitalizing on that, and that displeased God. So Jesus, on his way to the cross, set things straight concerning the nation of Israel, more specifically concerning the temple itself, a place that should have been a place of prayer, should have been a place of worship. Individuals would find it difficult to be able to truly worship and to pray because the religious leaders had their hands in their pockets. So that's what Jesus did. He drove them all out, and then he cleaned out the temple, and then he was gonna some other things take place. We're not gonna cover everything that happens, but just mainly some main events that are recorded for us. But essentially, and he's gonna head back out of town. So that's Monday for you. Those are a couple things for you to reflect on. The withered fig tree, it had signs of life, but inwardly there was no fruit. And then the temple itself had been cleansed once, but then they allowed the corruption back in, and it became defiled again. And so there's a lot of lessons there for us. Allow Jesus to have access to your heart, to drive out whatever needs to be driven out. You know what? And just keep worshiping Jesus and keep your eyes fixed on him. All right? Cool. Thanks, Miley.